How can someone get a new job in an economy that seems so broken? At this very moment, literally millions of people are looking at the economy, the job market, their particular industries, and they're wondering how they'll move into a meaningful career, or how they'll get their first full-time position, or maybe even how they'll land a reasonable job after being laid off for the past few months. This is a time when it's easy to give up because it seems so incredibly difficult or even downright impossible to get hired. If you're like most people, you're inundated right now by the doom and gloom we hear in the news or on our social media channels. It seems like there won't be very many jobs available and that there will be hundreds or even thousands of people applying for each of the few jobs that materialize. But you cannot think this way if you want to succeed, especially in times like these. You need a clear action plan, and you need to follow that plan with a dedication to hourly, daily, and weekly activities that involve researching, communicating, and connecting. Granted, each of you will have to develop your own approach that will work for you. But here are 6 keys to being successful as you hunt for that elusive yet meaningful new job. Job search key number 1. Plan for the long game. Consider your long-term career goals before you start your job hunt. Once you know that you eventually want to be a creative director or a chief marketing officer or a senior vice president of operations, then you can focus your next job hunt on finding positions that will help you gain the skills, experience, and expertise that will eventually be relevant to your long-term goal. There are a few factors to consider when you're planning for the long game. First, you do not have to start out in the same industry that you'll end up in. Gaining experience in managing other people or in managing operations or in becoming technically proficient will transfer to a number of different industries. Always try to find opportunities to develop yourself in whatever positions you initially find. Another factor to consider is that while you should aim high, you also need to be realistic in that it likely will take a substantial amount of time, as in 5 or 10 or even 15 years, to get where you want to be. Just because you feel that you're smarter and wiser and more creative than the person who currently holds that position doesn't mean that the hiring officials are going to feel the same way. They're going to want to see your experience and achievements that will give them the confidence that you can do well in that particular position. Finally, understand that most people end up in a different, yet still satisfying position in the end. Part of life is adjusting to what obstacles and opportunities are provided to us. You typically cannot control what life gives you, but you can control your own actions and reactions, and those will determine your future. Job search key number 2. Research before you job search. You need to know what skills, talents, and attributes hiring managers desire for the careers and job positions you're seeking. You cannot just guess or assume based on what you already know, because you likely have not had those types of positions yet. Research people in those fields, whether indirectly by examining their LinkedIn profiles or social media, or directly by inquiring with them or even interviewing them to find out what advice they would give to someone who would like to be in their positions 10 or 15 or 20 years from now. When you do your researching, don't just talk with people and try to remember what they said. Take extensive notes and build profiles or skill, experience, attribute personas of what a director or vice president or any other position would require to be successful. Once you've done your research on the necessary attributes for those desired job positions, you now need to do the research on yourself to see what attributes and skills you bring to the table. My recommendation is to conduct a personal raw materials assessment where you evaluate your current strengths, your potential strengths, your faults or bad habits, your motivators, your personality, and your core values. This part of your research is critical to see how much you match what is required for the jobs that you're seeking. Once you've done your self-evaluation and compared it to the skill, experience, attribute personas for the jobs you're seeking, you need to work on developing the skills, attributes, and experience needed to qualify for these positions. Remember that you need to meet these qualifications not just in your mind, but also in the minds of those who are doing the hiring. It's not enough for you to shout out to the world that you're qualified. You need to convince others through your actions, your achievements, and your successes. Job search key number 3. Customize your communications. I cannot begin to count all the times I've received generic resumes and even generic cover letters where it seemed that the job applicants didn't even care about the position that they were applying for. When you apply for a position, you need to customize all of your communications, both to the job position and to the people who are doing the hiring. This means that your resume, your cover letter, interviews, and any follow-up communications should be constructed to show how your particular set of skills, attributes, achievements, etc. will serve to satisfy what the hiring organization is seeking. You need to focus on communication that gets your message across to the hiring managers. And this message is that you have what it takes to be seriously considered for the position. Make references to what the organization's been doing. When you're interviewing, ask specific questions about how the organization is resolving current issues and how the person who gets this position can play a role in the solution. But do not have a stock set of answers that you give in every interview situation. Effective communication takes work. You need to spend some time customizing your resume, writing a fresh cover letter for each position, and practicing your interview question responses. Then keep track of your communications and always include a reverse call to action where you let the other person know that you will follow up with a future communication rather than putting the burden on them. Your goals should be effective communication rather than large numbers of resumes being sent out. And remember, if you have not already done your research, you cannot effectively customize your communications. Job search key number 4. Build relationships before making the ask. Now, as in right now, is the time to start building relationships with the people you'll ask to hire you 1 or 2 or even 5 or 6 or 7 years from now. I know. You don't know where those people will be a year from now, much less 5 or 6 or 7 years from now. But you probably do have an idea that certain people are moving up in their companies or industries. And it's likely that those people will be in some position of authority or influence where they can either hire you, provide a meaningful recommendation, or at least help you to make a connection. Connect with people on LinkedIn and in person. When the time's right, share something of value with them, maybe an article or some information or a useful connection. But do not ask them for anything in return. You need to be building positive social capital. And while you do this, you need to build it from a perspective of sincerity and authenticity. In other words, when you give to people and provide them with something of value, don't do it with the idea that you'll be collecting from them later on. In the long run, the vast majority of all your giving should be non-reciprocal. As you approach giving and relationship building in this way, and as you build the social capital, then, if and when an opportunity arises, you'll be able to make a fair and justified ask for assistance. And if no opportunity arises with that particular person with whom you've connected, then so be it. You'll have been a positive element in someone else's life, and if you're a believer in karma or anything like it, then you're going to be in a good position. But keep in mind the previous 3 keys. You're more likely to be able to provide something of value if you've done your research and you're customizing communications and you're planning for long-term successes. Something important is that you do eventually need to make that ask. You cannot expect your contacts to recommend you or connect you with someone or to hire you if you don't let them know your desires. Just make sure that you only make the ask when you feel that it's appropriate. And if it doesn't turn out like you hoped, move directly back into giving mode with a huge helping of gratitude for any assistance you did receive from those particular contacts. Job search, key number 5. Persevere and stay positive. Finding a job, getting a promotion, building a career, these are all difficult tasks that take time and effort. They can be, and they will be, tough, discouraging, frustrating, and even infuriating or depressing. One of the most important ways for you to deal with this is to incorporate positivity and perseverance into your short-term and long-term activities. Find the manner of focus that works best for you. Maybe you're the type of person who can focus on the end goal that's 10 years away, and that'll motivate you to endure through the tough times on a daily basis. Maybe instead, you're the type of person who wants to focus only on the daily tasks so you don't feel overwhelmed with the big picture. Or maybe you're somewhere in the middle, where you have a combination of long-term and short-term perspectives. In any of these cases, find your way to stay positive and remain focused. Remember that the journey truly can be an exciting and productive experience. In fact, how you react to the journey's challenges and obstacles will likely have a considerable effect on your personal lessons learned and the growth that you experience. You'll eventually gain successes, even if they're not exactly those successes that you initially envisioned. Job search key number 6. Create a daily activity plan. If you're not currently working, your job hunt should be a 20 to 40 hour per week process. In other words, finding a job should be your full-time job. If you are currently working a full-time job, then your job hunt should be like a serious part-time job where you spend between 10 to 20 hours a week focused on researching, communicating, and connecting. Set up a daily action plan where you block a particular number of hours per day and create goals to research, communicate, and/or connect during those blocked off times. Then set weekly goals and monthly goals as well with respect to building your own skills and experiences so that when an opportunity arises, you're prepared to capitalize on it because you've researched the positions, you've developed your skill sets, you've built meaningful relationships, and you're ready to customize your communications. Set your long-term goals high, but be realistic. It'll take time, effort, work, perseverance, and a lot of positivity to get you where you want to be. But in the end, it'll be worth it. If you take a positive-minded and long perspective approach to building your career that involves regularly scheduled researching, communicating, and connecting, you will find successes that will be proportional to the planning and work that you put into the process. I'm Anthony Miyazaki, and this has been a very long, but a very important Marketing Minute. Good luck with your job search. Be sure to subscribe so that you don't miss any of the future Marketing Minute videos.